Hey superstars, welcome to the Get Rich Without Being a Bitch podcast, and I am your host Vanessa for this journey. We're going to be challenging some stereotypes, shattering glass ceilings, really looking at what it takes to live richly and to design a business that's going to support the life that you really want to be living. I'm going to be sharing lots of tips, tools, and strategies along the way, and I can't wait for you to join me on this journey. Hey superstars, welcome back to another episode of Get Rich Without Being a Bitch. And today's topic, a really important one. Have you noticed how I say that pretty much every episode as well? These are all important topics. But today's is all about navigating the messy middle of growing your business. There are a couple of classic kind of stuck points that women hit, business owners hit, and we never get beyond those. And I want to break that down today so you can A, recognize this for yourself, and B, start to look at, what are those strategies to get out of that messy middle and get to the other side of it. So if you're new in business, you possibly could still be in this honeymoon period. If you've been in business for a while, you will probably recognize this as well. Because I certainly remember when I was in business, I just loved everything about it. Didn't matter what I had to do with my business. My business was my baby. It was shiny. It was exciting. I was passionate about helping people. I was, still amazed that people would pay me money for coaching services, like all of the above. It didn't matter what I was doing, whether I was, sending out emails, invoices, coaching, doing marketing, going to networking events. I loved it all because it was new, it was challenging, and it was exciting. And that's that honeymoon period, right? And we've hopefully all experienced that in business, kind of like dating. I always think about these things in terms of like dating. And when I'm married 30 years this year, and when my husband and I, first met, everything was exciting, tons of conversation. Now, after a while, business takes off, and all of a sudden we find ourselves doing all of the things that we were doing in the early days. We're probably still doing them, but we're probably also doing a lot of client delivery, right? Service delivery work as well. And all of a sudden there is this moment where we're probably getting maxed out on time that we have available or that frankly we want to dedicate to our business. We're probably getting drained as well. And we're probably spending too much of our time and energy on the wrong things. And this is where all of a sudden, business can feel very, very grindy. And I feel we're like, oh my gosh, do I really have to do this again? Oh, I've still got this pile of emails to respond to, or these clients to get back to, whatever those things are, right? The admin work. And all of a sudden, we've hit this place where there's what we call the ceiling of complexity. There just seems to be so many things going on. Chances are revenues are plateauing around this time as well. This is one of the places where you can really see that you've hit the messy middle because your revenues, right, are stagnating. They're just not increasing. And there's a good reason for this as well. You're wearing all the hats, your energy is getting drained, revenues are plateauing, and chances are you are way too close to what you're doing to know how to navigate this and how to get to the other side. And depending on the people that you spend time with and who give you counsel and advice, some people might be giving you really bad advice at this point as well. Things like, suck it up. You've got to be more productive. This is what running a business is like. Just keep going. 5 years from now, you'll be on the other side of this. Right? Notice that there's nothing strategic in those conversations. Otherwise, some people might be giving you advice like, well, I don't know, you seem to be working so hard. Would you not be better off to go and get employed elsewhere? Go and get a job, right? So all of these things tend to happen. Now, what's happening here is, as I say, this messy middle is we've hit the threshold of pain and complexity. It's we just get to that place. It's going to be different for everybody. We just don't want to do it this way anymore, but we can't see a way through. So what do we start to do instead? Well, a couple of the things that we might find ourselves doing, I call this my Starbucks moment. I've certainly had these, is I want to go and do something else, right? All of a sudden, I'm glorifying Perhaps it is getting a job, working elsewhere, going and being a barista, right? Whatever those things are. But like, I just want to go and do something else. So for me, I noticed that I just want to flee and do something else. And everything else seems shinier and better and more enticing than what I'm doing now, right? We might call that shiny object syndrome as well, where we start to change our path, change the strategy. Oh, there's this thing over there, right? But the thing about that is that everything that will get you hooked in to like that shiny object syndrome is the fact that it seems easier. Always. That's the piece that will get us hooked in. And when it's so hard and it's feeling painful and complex here, like easy over there feels really, really seductive. So be warned, because anytime that something feels easy like that, chances are it really isn't. And or it's the place where you can go onto that slippery slope of shiny object syndrome. It's one place you might see this happening. The other place you might see this happening is you start to kind of stall the growth of your business. So you find yourself saying things like, I'm totally okay the way I am. This feels really good. I just need a small business. I'm okay with this. I just need a few clients, just keeping it going is great. I'm okay to coast for a while, right? So we start to talk ourselves into wanting less than what we originally went into business for in the first place. And again, you can start to look at this for yourself, because if you had those big dreams and goals and aspirations when you first went into business, and now you find yourself kind of settling, right? Oh no, I'm okay. If I've just got a little bit coming in, I've got this consistency, that's going to be okay, right? That's the stalling of your growth. And the one thing I know about stalling growth is after a while, stalling tends to die. We can stall for a while, we can coast for a while, but after a while, it starts to die. Because I firmly believe that everything that we are doing in our business and frankly in our life and this world needs to be growing, right? It needs to be growing and evolving and getting to thriving. And if we're not nurturing it, right, it's going to start going the other way. So stalling is another place that you might find yourself. And this is, again, indicators of you've hit that pain threshold, right? The messy middle. The other place that you might find yourself in is self-sabotage, right? So again, self-sabotage, where there are things that you could be doing. I'm going to give you some examples that I've heard from women. So again, I want you to know that you're not alone, but women will say to me, oh my gosh, I've been asked for a quote. I've been asked for a proposal. I should send out the invoices. I've got these opportunities right here, right now to have more. And yet I'm not doing it. Like I'm simply not following through on these things. Again, you might find that your delivery starts to even go downhill as well. Right? That behind the scenes, you're not showing up in the way that you could be to your clients. And perhaps clients even start to leave, or you fear that they're going to start to leave. And unconsciously, what you're doing here is you're self-sabotaging your progress, right? And a way to keep it at a level that feels safe and manageable. So recognize those things for yourself. And if you want to get through the messy middle, the only way is to get through it. And your next level of freedom sits on the other side of that messy middle. But how do we actually start to get there? Well, I am a firm believer in the thing that we need most at that time when we are navigating the messy middle is we need help. We typically need a really good sounding board. We probably need a coach and a mentor at that point that can actually show us the roadmap of how to get through. One of the other things that we really need to be doing, one of the exercises to go through at this point, is the tolerations exercise, right? This is back to my $1 million question. It's like, what are you tolerating right now? And I really firmly believe you've got to answer those questions. You've got to write it down on paper. You've got to see it in black and white. You've also got to put dollar signs to it. What do you really believe it's costing you? Also, what do you believe it's costing you energetically and emotionally? And this is why we get stuck in the messy middle, right? Because we've basically taken on so much stuff, complexity. Guaranteed, when you're in that messy middle, you are not feeling joyful and passionate and excited like you were in the first days of the business. You are typically, feeling burning out, frustrated, and overwhelmed. And the only way to change that is to take stuff off of your plate. And it's to take the stuff off of your plate that is not in your zone of genius. So this happens for me in my business. I've had to go through this recently myself, where I'm like, okay, what am I now tolerating? There's stuff that started to pile up and I didn't notice it at first, or it was like it was okay and I was okay doing it. And then before we know it, it's become a source of frustration. So we've got to go back and answer that $1 million question, right? And do that tolerations audit. The other thing that we can do right now as well in this stage is get help. I firmly believe, as I say, there's, two places that you really want to get help. I firmly believe in coaching and mentoring. And again, people that know how to help you navigate this and have a roadmap for it and the right steps. But the other place we've got to get help is, again, in getting things off of our plate. We have to delegate some things. And believe me, there are so many more options available to you than you realize. Because immediately when we're stressed out, we tend to go into the, oh my gosh, I don't have the time for that. It's going to take, far more time and energy to train somebody up, right? All of these stories that basically keep us stuck in that messy middle. Yeah, sometimes you feel like you don't have, right, the dollars available, but I can promise you, right, there are ways to hire people really cheaply. And if it's bribing a family member as well to get some stuff done and get some help temporarily, so be it. But we've got to get creative. Got to get creative, because that is the only way that you're going to start to navigate that messy middle. And also, once you have the new experience as well of, oh, there's certain things I don't need to do anymore. Oh my gosh, there's people that actually do this better than I do. Or frankly, they do it at 80% or 90%. And that is absolutely just fine. The last part that I want to say about this, which is really, really important, is coming back to your why. Like, we've got to come back in those places of that messy middle where it just feels like, ugh, I want to tear the whole thing down because it just feels too complex. It's like, come back to your why are you doing what you're doing, right? What is the difference that you're here to make through your business? Who are those people that you feel really, really called to serve? Connect back in with them, right? And that reason for doing business. And come back into why you're doing this for yourself. I believe that we go into business as entrepreneurs, because we do want to really add value to the lives of other people. We feel very called to doing that. And we want to get our creativity and our gifts and talents out in the world. And we also go into entrepreneurship because we also know that it's a path that there is no ceiling to what's possible, right? The ceiling is often self-imposed, and it's often back to that story, right, that's sitting right between our ears. So you've got to come back to, why do you want to do this for you? Why do you want to do this for you, your family, your loved ones? Like, what is that bigger vision? Get those desires, right, ignited again within you so that they can be the fuel for bringing about change. And again, I can promise you that there is a way through the messy middle. Unfortunately, statistically, the majority of small business owners hit that messy middle. It tends to hit around probably, a few 100,000 in revenue. That's where it tends to hit, and that ceiling of complexity, and they stall and they never get beyond that. And I have spoken to business owners that have been in that place for 20 years. If you are listening today, I know that that's not for you. Right? That's the reason that you're listening. So again, get help. Reach out to us. We might be able to help you at the BGA as well. We'd love to get on a call, and make sure that you are getting the coaching, the guidance, the mentoring to navigate through it, because it's really, really fun and exciting on the other side. So as always, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Leave a positive review as well. It helps us get a bigger reach, and it helps us to reach more women like you. And I can't wait to catch you on the next episode.